Hello, everybody. I'm Chris Buckle, and welcome back to another episode of Chris Buckle's Album Club. As usual, of course, today we will have two albums, which you will, I guess, already know because you can see the thumbnail, but we don't know them yet. They'll randomly pick pairing from a list of submissions done anonymously by us. We'll get a pairing of these albums, we'll listen to them, we'll say which one we like better, and of course, at the end, I'll reveal who picked what. So today with me, as usual, I have Ben.
Purple Rain.
And Matthew.
Light it in my face.
Alright, you already hear what today's albums are?
Yep.
Alright, today's album, I'm going to warn you, this is going to be a very strange pairing. Today's albums are Golden Hours by KACEY Musgraves and Plastic Ono Band by John Lennon. Alright, initial impressions, we're going to start with you, Ben.
For the first album, no thoughts, head empty. For the second album, yeah, I know this album. I have lots and lots of thoughts on it already. It's a good album. I will save the rest of my thoughts for later.
Alright, Matthew.
One of these albums I am well acquainted with, and the other album I'm also well acquainted with. So, yep.
Alright. Well, as for me, I know Plastic Ono Band. I have it on vinyl. I've listened to it quite a lot. I will give my thoughts on it here later in the video. I think sometimes we're bad about spoiling stuff too early on. As for KACEY Musgraves, Golden Hours, I don't really know anything about this. Doesn't really seem like the type of thing I'd probably like, though. But I'll go into it with no expectations, so we'll see if I like it or not. But I'm pretty sure I know which album of these two I'll like better.
I also know which albums I like. Which one of these two albums I would like better.
Yeah. Alright, well, that's it for initial impressions. We're now going to go listen to the albums, and we will be right back with our thoughts on them. Alright, we are back now, and we are going to give our thoughts on the albums. Now, of course, the first album was Golden Hour by KACEY Musgraves, and as usual, we will start with you, Ben. What were your thoughts on this album?
I was happy in the haze of a drunken house. Okay. Okay. Okay, I know. I've listened to this album twice. Okay, why is okay, I'm gonna try to be serious. It's hard though.
Serious? Like Serious George?
Serious. Yeah.
I really enjoy this album. I think this album is a really good album. I think it's fantastic. This was personally my favorite album of 2018. I think the tracks are really good. I think it spans from solid to really to this is fantastic. Like my favorite tracks are Lonely Weekend, Butterfly, um, uh, My Horse was really good. Um, uh, Space Cowboy, although I was disappointed that she did not give any reference to Cowboy Bebop. And my favorite track of this album is the title track, Golden Hour. I think it's a really good song you can play at the first dance at a wedding if you were married. And yeah, I just think it's a very soothing listen. I think KACEY Musgrave's voice is very pleasant. It is one that you want to listen to, and it isn't overbearing or pretentious. Um, yeah, I really enjoy this album.
All right, Ben, what were your thoughts on this album?
Uh, Similar to Matthew, I think the standout tracks for me were "Lonely Weekend" for some reason, "Oh What a World," and I also Velvet Elvis is just such a funny concept for a song about like I guess the implication is that the man is kind of he's like feels like love and it's fuzzy or whatever, and she wants to show him off, but it's also Velvet Elvis pigs are pretty corny, which is kind of the point of not the Mona Lisa. It's that I guess she loves her man, he's warm and fuzzy, and also he's corny. I found that funny. But yeah, I would say the song that stood out most to me was "Lonely Weekend" for some reason. I thought it was pretty good. I would say "Oh What a World's" opening sounded like Daft Punk, maybe, or like
You're gonna say
ELO's
he said it.
ELO's opening prologue to Time. I guess opening prologue is redundant.
Yeah.
But I thought that that was pretty interesting. I was surprised at that because a lot of this album sort of sounds like, and I'm gonna sound dumb, but Matthew, whatever the era of Taylor Swift is, well, she's more country, but she's still country, but she's moving towards pop or like dance music.
So like, basically Speak Now and Fearless essentially.
Yeah, yeah, I would say that a lot of this sounds like that in some ways to me. It was. This isn't like my favorite genre. It's not my favorite album. It wasn't boring to listen to though. It was pleasant.
All right. Well, as for my thoughts, I like this album personally. I thought because everyone's been saying which tracks they did like better. Um, I personally thought all of the first three tracks, it's Stillborn, Lonely Weekend, Butterflies, I thought those were all pretty good. Oh, and 4, Oh, What a World, I thought that was good too. I also liked track 6, that's Love is a Wild Thing. And I also kind of like track 8, Happy and Sad, as well as track 13, Rainbow. Track 12, Golden Hour, the title track, that was pretty good too. But some of these other tracks I thought did get kind of awkward. I didn't really care that much for Space Cowboy. It was okay, but it was kind of dumb. Uh, Velvet Elvis was pretty inane. Wonder Woman I also didn't really like, partly because I thought it was kind of riffing on like, I can't remember if it's late 80s or late 90s song, but I didn't really care too much for that song either. But I like most of the other songs. I did think Velvet Elvis was kind of inane, but other than that, I thought most of this was pretty good. Even the Space Cowboy was pretty good, even if it was one of the less good ones. So yeah, I thought it was overall a pretty well-rounded album. I'm not generally. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, guys. I'm not generally someone who listens to this modern pop stuff. Now this is country pop, I guess, but I will say the kind of the modern gold pop albums we've listened to, which are Emotion by Carly Rae Jepsen, Folklore by Taylor Swift, and then this one, Golden Hour. I'm going to go out on a branch and say this one, Golden Hour, was the best of the three.
I would agree, although I would not consider Folklore to be a kind of pop album. I, I don't know what it is, but I feel like it's too low key to be considered.
It's like
Um,
a folk pop, baby.
Alright, the next album is Plastic Ono Band by John Lennon. And we all, as before, going to start with you, Matthew. What were your thoughts on this album?
I thought this album was kind of mid. I didn't really. I thought it was a fine album, but I also believe that of the solo Beatles stuff, John always brings out the least good ones. I think Paul is, of course, the best one, and then George. And I believe, in terms of albums, I don't think this is the best John solo album. I think the best John solo album would be considered, I believe, the last one that he released while he was alive, which was Double Fantasy. I think that was his best one. I didn't really. I thought this is a fine album, but like I thought John was trying too hard in certain things, and I think my favorite tracks, I Found Out, Hold On, Isolation, Remember, Love, and Look at Me, and my least favorite song in the album By a Country Mile was God. I just found it very pretentious, and if he wanted to do something like this, he could just like write a paper about it. Um, I just found it kind of annoying, like trying to act like it was like an intellectual piece when like if anyone wanted to like get through like something like this, they could just like actually read thoughts by philosophers or theorists. But yeah, that's my thoughts. That was kind of it.
All right, Ben, what are your thoughts on this album?
I think that, well, this is technically not actually a solo album. That this is John Lennon's best solo album. Unlike Matthew.
I would disagree. I think Double Fantasy or Imagine, even though I despise that song, are better than this one.
Well, imagine that. I have the best Plastic Ono song, Plastic Ono band song on it, Instacoma. But it does have a number of, I would say, good, high quality tracks. There's also, as I was saying, Mother, which is a kind of a primal screamy song about how his parents left him, which is definitely an interesting way to open the album, and I think defines a lot of it, especially how it's matched at the end with My Mummy's Dead. Really dark. I also think I Found Out is a standout track, which is a song about um kind of just like disillusionment, and I mean his becoming an atheist, I would say, is a part of it, but also kind of just disillusionment with drugs, that he's addicted to heroin, just that he feels like it's all a sham in some ways, that he's found out. On the flip side, there's Love, a very sweet, sentimental piano ballad, which is kind of a counterpoint to the rest of it. And of course, there was Matthew's favorite song on the album, God.
God.
Definitely a song that is 100% about pushing atheism, and not a song about how he's disillusioned with
No, I don't think it was about it.
everything.
I don't think it's about him pushing atheism. Like, I don't really care if he's an atheist or not. I just found it very pretentious. And doesn't it, like, I think one of the criticism I have with the album, I feel like he was doing too much of, like, primal yelling for yelling, and it kind of feels off-putting. Like, I think Mother, that opening track, goes on for too long, and I think that was also one of my least favorite tracks of the album. And as for God, I just couldn't stand it. Not because of like um any religious or irreligious or not religious positions he took. It's just that it just feels like he could have done it better written in a paper than like a song.
I mean, I agree, it's definitely a weird song. Um,
Like dude was saying, "Oh, I don't believe in Hitler." I'm like, "Well, good. You don't shouldn't believe in Hitler. Like, what are you talking about?" like,
Yeah, admittedly, I always found that line a little
like,
strange.
I
yeah, I'm
think it
like,
makes
yeah, that's
perfect
not.
sense.
I don't think it makes perfect sense. Like, sure, you don't believe in Jesus, but why the heck did you say you don't believe in Hitler? Like, what are you trying to say here, bro? Like, I think
Well, I
most,
mean, Hitler was like a god to some people.
you
But
know,
he was a real god, obviously.
well, but
I mean, that's the whole. If it's a part of the song, but it's just that his understanding of idols just as a whole is collapsing. Most notably, the Beatles. Uh, all the rest of it is that. I mean, not only is God in his understanding the way in which people measuring their pain, but these god-like entities, these idols, Hitler and Elvis and Bob Dylan and the Beatles are also acting as ways in which people are measuring their pain, the ways in which he's measuring his pain. Ultimately, he ends up having a kind of a disillusionment with self in the song. Well, he does say he believes in him. I believe in me, Yuko and me. But his persona is what he ends up disillusioned with.
Wait, Ben, did you make a Persona reference?
Yes.
Persona 5 reference?
Persona 4 reference.
move on.
Move
Answer your
on.
question.
Move on. Move on?
I
Is that
mean,
a
and then to
reference?
put it update, my essay on Persona 4 has
No,
been published.
move on.
Alright, well, you know what they say about, Anyways,
But yes, I think that the primal scream element that Matthew identifies as bad and goes on for too long is what makes this album a much more difficult album to deal with, to do with, because it's about that. It's about that. It's a piece of art primarily about that. That just disillusionment with his parents, with his persona, with meaning in society. That there's kind of an existential need to create meaning. I was saying the song God, in the song I Find Out, in the song Working Class Hero, that defines this album, but it's not. I mean, he ends up implying that there's something to rebellion against the system in Working Class Hero, but otherwise, meaning is very unclear. It's not. It's the start, not the end. There's not closure to this album, which is the point. And that way is one of the better albums we've done.
I would I would disagree that this is one of our best albums that we've done. I think it's a decent album, but it's like I don't think it's like top 10 or albums we've done.
I don't know about top 10, but it may well be in there. But we have done better
No,
albums than this one, to be clear.
I would
Uh,
agree, but I would not put this even like of the era of the classic rock albums we have done. This isn't better than Abbey Road or Led
obviously,
Zeppelin 4 or
obviously,
Wish You Were Here.
obviously.
It's vaguely better than Kiss, Destroyed by Kiss, but at the same time, Kiss isn't trying to like give me a message about philosophy and religion or
it's
something.
definitely worlds
Like
better than Kiss.
I I question that. It's not better than Asia by Steely Dan. Like
Okay, I'll drink to that, I
That's a good
guess.
point.
it's like it's fine, but even like I always never found John Lennon's solo work to be as compelling as like Paul or George, and even Ringo. Like I don't really haven't really listened to Ringo's um, solo work, but at the same time, he's a goofy enough man where I'm like I would rather take someone who is knows what they're doing than someone trying to make themselves bigger than they actually are.
But John Lennon's not trying to make himself a bigger than he actually is. He's trying to destroy
He
that.
refutes that.
Is he really?
He says that you shouldn't
I
treat
mean,
him as
maybe in a
God.
sense, destroying it is reifying it. That's a good point.
Yo, I didn't understand any of that, but okay. Alright, what are some of my thoughts on this album? I think this album's pretty good. I especially like the songs Mother, and of course I found out Working Class Hero and Love. Unlike Matthew, I do like God. I think it's a kind of a fitting bookend in a way to the Beatles' career, kind of eulogy in a way, epithet. Um, yeah, I mean, I think this is probably my favorite of John's solo albums. Imagine's more fun to listen to, but still, I think this is probably my favorite of all of his solo albums. I agree it's not as good as, like, All Things Must Pass, but, you know, it was never going to be. That's basically it. I don't really have a huge amount to say that Ben hasn't already said. So I think we should probably move on and say which album we liked better of the two. Alright, Ben, I guess we're going to be... oh, wait, Matthew, we're going to be starting with you. Which album did you like better?
Golden Hour. I just had more fun with it. It didn't felt like it didn't feel pretentious. It didn't feel like trying to prove a point when it didn't have to. So I picked Golden Hour.
Alright, Ben, which album did you like better?
I like Lennon Plastic on a Band better. It's just a lot more meaningful album to me. Which is not to say I didn't like Golden Hour by KACEY Musgraves. I liked it better than I thought I was, which I tend to say with modern pop albums, so maybe I should be adjusting my expectations accordingly, but, you know, whatever.
Alright, and as for me, the album I liked better was Plastic Ono Band. I do think, though, that it's not necessarily the most versatile album here, but I do think it is the better album. Sorry, Matthew. Great album. Not something you want to listen to every day, obviously, but great album nonetheless. Alright, and now for who picked which album. Y'all ready for this?
And pick John Lennon because that's his like reincarnated self.
Yeah, backwards reincarnation's a thing, I guess. Like, actually, unironically. Well, sort of unironic. Alright, these albums were picked by... The KACEY Musgraves album was picked by Matthew. And John Lennon / Plastic Ono Band was, of course, picked by, as Matthew just said, it was picked by Ben.
Figures.
Yep. He's a big fan. Won't you, Ben?
Yeah, you don't say. You don't say.
Whoa. Whoa. Alright, well, that about wraps up for today's episode of the Album Club. I hope you all have enjoyed. Once again, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. That helps me out a lot. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.